Shluchim Eshuthin Chapter 8. 1. When a person gives eggs to a chicken farm with the intent that the chicken farmer will have chickens sit on the eggs until they hatch, and then for the chicken farmer to raise the chicks with the profits to be divided between them, the owner of the eggs must provide the chicken farmer with a wage for his work and sustenance. Similarly, when a person evaluates calves and ponies and then entrusts them to a caretaker with the intent that he tend them until they grow into large animals with the profit to be divided between them, the owner of the animals must provide the caretaker with a wage for his work and sustenance for every day, like an unemployed worker. He must raise calves until they are 3 years old, and a donkey until he is capable of bearing a burden. He cannot sell the animal without the consent of his partner until this time. Similarly, if one evaluates animals and then entrusts them to a caretaker to fatten them with the profit to be divided between them, the owner of the animals must provide the caretaker with a wage for his work, like an unemployed worker. If the owner tells the caretaker, take the head and the fat tail for yourself in exchange for your work, aside for your share of the profits, it is permitted. If the caretaker has other animals that he is also working to fatten in addition to this one that was evaluated, and similarly if one has other calves, ponies, or eggs, since he is caring for his own at the same time as he is caring for his colleagues, even if the owner gives him only a small amount as a wage for the entire period of the partnership, it is acceptable, and they may divide the profits equally. If the caretaker was already employed as the owner's sharecropper and he's taking care of the animals belonging to both himself and the owner of the field, the owner does not have to pay him anything as a wage. 2. When a person has calves or ponies evaluated, he has chickens set on his eggs, he or his animals evaluated to be fattened with the profits to be divided between them, and does not pay a wage to the caretaker. The laws that govern such a relationship are the same as those that govern the investment of money. We see how much the animals or the eggs were evaluated for and how much profit was made. The caretaker is given 2/3 of the profit. If there is a loss, he is required to bear 1/3 of the loss. 3. We evaluate a cow, a donkey, and any other animal that usually performs work and eats, and the profits are divided between the owner and the caretaker. For although care is required, the caretaker is able to derive out the profit for himself because of the work of the animals. For he may hire them, work with them himself, and benefit from the fee. Evaluate a calf with his mother or a pony with his mother. For the calf or the pony does not perform any work, and it yet requires care. 4. When a person has an animal valued and trusted to a colleague, until when is the colleague obligated to care for it? For a female donkey, 18 months. For an animal that lives in a corral, for instance, sheep or cattle, 24 months. If the owner desires to divide the profits within this period, the caretaker can prevent them from doing so because they enter into a partnership without making any stipulations. We set these rules because the care of the profit ratio for an animal for the first year cannot be compared to that of the second year. The first year requires much more care and brings little profit because at the beginning it becomes heavier only with much difficulty. In the second year, it requires little care and there is much profit because it becomes much heavier, gaining every day. Therefore, the caretaker may prevent them from dissolving the partnership until the end of the second year. If the animal that was evaluated gives birth while in possession of the caretaker, the calf is considered part of the profit and is divided between them. In a place where the custom is the caretaker raises the offspring, he should raise them and afterwards sell them. In a place where it is not customary for the caretaker raising the offspring, he is nevertheless required to care for the offspring for a limited period. For a lightweight animal, is required to care for it for 30 days. For a large animal, is required to care for it for 50 days. Afterwards, the offspring is sold and the profits are divided. If the caretaker desires to care for them longer than this period, he should divide them on the 30th or 50th day afterwards, and the profit that is made should be divided between them. As follows: the caretaker should receive 3/4 of the profit and his partner 1/4. Rationale: the caretaker owns half of the offspring, and because he cares for the half belonging to his colleague, he is given half of that, i.e., a total of 3/4. If the caretaker did not make such a stipulation, the person with 3 witnesses is considered to have waived this extra profit, and the offspring divided equally between them. In a place where it's customary to figure into a porter's fee to the money invested, that fee should be added. The entire fee that the administrator receives for carrying the merchandise should be figured into the profit on the investment. Similarly, if it is a local custom to add an extra fee for handling an animal, it should be added. In a place where it's customary to add an extra fee to a caretaker's wages for handling an offspring, it should be added whenever a person enters into an investment or partnership agreement. He should not deviate from local business practice. 5. The following rules apply when Reuven owns a field and invites Shimon to till it, to sow it, to plant within it, to manage the expenses spent on its account, to sell the produce, and to divide between them the profit that exceeds the cost. Whenever they agreed to divide the profits equally, or they agreed that Reuven would receive a larger share, whether all the expenses were undertaken by Shimon or by Reuven or by Shimon, any such arrangement is permitted. Even the shade of interest is not involved. Shimon, who takes care of working the land and managing the expenses selling the produce, is called the sharecropper. If the sharecropper claims I agreed to till the field for half the profits, but the owner of the field claims that they agreed to on 1/3, we follow the local custom. The one who has claimed departs from the local custom must bring proof to support his position. 6. The following will apply when husband hires sharecroppers till property belonging to his wife, and then he divorces her. If the husband is himself a sharecropper, since the husband does not have any connection to the property any longer, the sharecropper's connection also ceases. If the value of the property increases, they are granted only the share of their expenses equal to the field's increase in value, and they must support their claim with an oath. If the husband is not a sharecropper, we assume that the sharecroppers were hired according to the custom of the land, and they are given the share granted to other sharecroppers. 7. When brothers or other heirs do not divide the estate of their benefactor, but instead they all use it together, they are considered partners in all matters. If one of a group of brothers or one of a group of partners was appointed to the service of the king, the profit he receives is divided among them. If one of the brothers becomes ill and is cured, the expenses required for his cure should be shared. If, however, he becomes sick because of his own negligence, he went out in the snow or in the sun during the summer, or he became ill or the like, he is responsible for bearing the expenses for his cure by himself. Chapter 9:1. The following all types of partners, sharecroppers, guardians of orphans who are appointed by the court: a woman who does business in a family home or was charged by her husband to serve as a storekeeper, and a member of the household are all required by rabbinic law to take an oath despite the fact that the claimant does not have a certain claim against them unless they may have stolen something from their colleague while performing business on his behalf, or perhaps they're not exactly making a reckoning. Why did the sages ordain this oath? Because these people give themselves license, thinking they are deserving of whatever they will take from the property of the owner, since they do business and work on this behalf. Therefore, the sages ordained that they are required to take an oath despite the fact that the claimant does not have a certain claim against them, so that they will perform all their deeds justly and in good faith. Two, none of the above are required to take an oath because of an indefinite claim until the plaintiff suspects them taking 2 silver pieces, i.e. 2 silver ma, as we'll explain. If however the suspect of taking less than this amount, they are not required to take an oath. 3, based on the teacher's rule that if one partner died, the heirs cannot compel the father's partners take an oath concerning an indefinite claim, for they are not knowledgeable of their father's affairs, and not know for certain that the father suspects the partner of wrongdoing, so that it can be said that the heir suspect the partner of taking 2 silver ma. There are, however, others who rule that the heir may require him to take an oath despite the fact that his claim is indefinite. It is proper to rule in this manner, for we see that the heirs may require a widow to become a guardian during the lifetime of her husband, who became a guardian during the lifetime of her husband, to take an oath. 4, although there are no witnesses that a person was his colleague, sharecropper, or partner, but rather he himself admits to this fact, saying, I am his partner, sharecropper, member of this household, but I did not steal anything from him. He must take an oath while holding a sacred article. The rationale is that we do not employ the principle of migay to free a person from responsibility taking an oath, but only to free him from a financial commitment. Which member of the household can be required to take an oath because of an indefinite claim? When it brings workers in and leads workers out. Who brings produce in, it takes produce out. When, however, a member of the household is not involved in the business affairs of the household but merely enters and leaves, he cannot be required to take an oath because of an indefinite claim. Similarly, a guardian appointed by the father of the goats before his death cannot be required by the goats to take an oath because of an indefinite claim. Similarly, a woman who did not serve as a guardian in her husband's lifetime and did not do business with the property of the estate after her husband's burial cannot be required to take an oath because of an indefinite claim. Similarly, if she did business with the property of the estate between her husband's death and burial, she is not required to take an oath regarding the transaction conducted during this period, for if she were required to take an oath, she would not sell any property in order to make the burial possible, and the deceased would become loathsome. 5, when a person sends an article with a colleague to sell or sends money with him to purchase produce or merchandise for him, even though the principal did not pay an agent a wage, and the agent does not own any portion of the merchandise nor derive any benefit from it, since he did business with his colleague's money, he is considered a member of his household. Even though the principal has merely an indefinite claim, the agent can be required to take an oath that he did not steal anything from him when he brought him the merchandise that he purchased, or a portion of it, or the money from the sale he conducted for him. 6, when both partners are involved in the business of the partnership, or the one who was involved in the business trust of merchandise or a portion of the merchandise, so the funds belonging to the partnership without weighing, measuring, or counting them. There is a doubt concerning both of them, and either one can require the other to take an oath required of a partner. If, however, only one of the partners does business, the other one is not involved in the business dealings at all, only the former can be required to take an oath. 7, the above oath can be administered when the initial relationship is still current. If, however, the partners or the sharecroppers dissolved their relationship and the woman was divorced, the member of the household and elsewhere, or the agent brought the principal the merchandise he purchased from him, or the money from the merchandise he sold for him, the principal remains silent without making a claim against the other party, and the other party were departed. The principal is not able to require the other party to take an oath because of an indefinite claim afterwards. If, however, the principal has a definite claim against him, he can be required to take an oath and then require him to take additional oaths concerning anything he desires. Similarly, at a later time, the other person is required to take an oath to the principal, whether required by scriptural law or by rabbinic law. For instance, become a partner or a member of the person's household again. The principal can require him to take an oath that he did not steal anything during their present partnership, or while he was his partner, sharecropper, member of his household, or guardian previously. Similar laws apply in analogous situations. 8, when partners have dissolved their relationship, but the partnership is still owed debts by others, the partners cannot require each other to take an oath because of an indefinite claim, for they have already divided the partnership's resources. The debts that remain are not significant in this context, for they are matters of public knowledge. When any portion of the debt is repaid, they will each take their appropriate portion of the debt. Similar concept apply if it had been made known that cash remains in the coffers of the partnership, but the partners have not taken their portion of that cash. Neither may require an oath of the other, because cash is considered as if it is already divided. Similarly, if a reckoning was made of the assets the partnership possessed by all the partners, and it was determined that one of the partners was holding a specific and known entity belonging to the other, is considered as if the assets were divided, even though they had not taken it as of that time. If, however, any of the produce belonging to the partnership remained and it had not been divided or weighed, or any dimension of the partnership remained concerning which any counting had not been made, and thus neither of them knew the extent of the portion that is due him, the partnership is still considered viable, and either may require the other to take the oath mentioned above. 9, when a person issues a claim against a colleague after the dissolution of a partnership, he cannot compel him to take an oath except through the convention of a Gilgush was explained above. He may, however, have a ban of ostracism issued against anyone who stole from his colleague while he was his partner, sharecropper, member of his household, and does not admit that he stole. Chapter 10. The following law applies when a partner claims that the partnership relationship with his colleague involved a certain stipulation. The colleague denies that such stipulation never existed or admits to the existence of a stipulation, but claims it was for a lesser amount than the plaintiff claims. The plaintiff may determine the oath that the defendant takes. The same ruling applies if the plaintiff asks the property belonging to the partnership be returned to him. The defendant claims to have given it to him, but the plaintiff claims that he never received it, or the defendant claims the merchandise was his, while the plaintiff claims that it belongs to the partnership, or with regard to any other claims of this type. What is implied? If the plaintiff desires not to require the partner to take an oath required of partners, but instead require him to take merely a schwatz, or on the claim he denies, and does not admit to have taken place, he may require him to take only the lesser oath. If he desires, he can include all the claims in the oath required of partner. Although he has an indefinite claim, he will require the partner to take an oath that he did not sell anything throughout the duration of the partnership, that these stipulations existed between the partners and the merchandise was his, or that he paid this and this amount. The same principles apply in non-analogous situations too. The following rule applies when a person lodges a claim against a partner with the intent of obligating him to take the oath required of partners. The defendant claims, we have already divided the assets of the partnership, and nothing that belongs to you remains in my possession. And the plaintiff differs, maintaining that the assets were not divided, nor was a reckoning made. The defendant cannot be required to take an oath because of an indefinite claim. The ruling also applies when the plaintiff admits dividing the assets, but claims that the division was made with the stipulation that the defendant take the oath required of the partners whenever the plaintiff demanded, and the defendant has constantly been procrastinating. This ruling applies even when the defendant admits that after the division of the assets he owed the plaintiff something, but claims that the plaintiff agreed to consider that as a debt, or considered it as an object entrusted to the defendant for safekeeping. Even if there are witnesses that the two were at once partners, but cannot require an oath with an indefinite claim. Nor may the plaintiff require the defendant to take a schwatz as divided the assets, or that they were never partners. The rationale is that a schwatz is never required, nor even is a claim including an oath using the convention of a gilgul shvua, unless the claim is such that if the defendant admitted it, he'd be liable to pay money. If however the claim is one that if the defendant admitted it, he would not be required only to take an oath. He may not be required to take an oath on the indefinite claim because even because of the convention of gilgul shvua, Ga'inim, who are masters of instruction, ruled in this matter. 3. The following was applies if the plaintiff claims, you are still my partner and property belonging to me worth such and such remains in your possession, and the defendant counters by claiming we have already divided the assets of the partnership, and I no longer have anything belonging to you in my possession, or I was never your partner. The defendant must take a schwatz that he does not possess anything belonging to the plaintiff, and because of the convention of gilgul shvua must include in an oath that he did not steal anything from him. The defendant need not include in the oath that he was not his partner, that he already divided the assets of the partnership for the reasons explained above. 4. The following rule applies when the plaintiff claims that he and the defendant are still partners, that he is therefore has the right to require him to take the oath because of an indefinite claim, while the defendant denies ever becoming the plaintiff's partner. If the plaintiff brings witnesses to testify that the defendant was his partner, and the defendant then claims we divided the assets of the partnership, his claim is not accepted. The rationale is that he was proven to be a liar with regard to this oath. Therefore, he is required to take the oath required of a partner. Similar laws apply in analogous situations. 5. The convention of gilgul shvua is also relevant in the following situation. Reuven placed 400 dirham of the coppers to the partnership, while Shimon invested 200 dirham. They worked as partners in the business together, but all the money was held by Reuven. If Reuven claimed that there was a loss of 500 dirham, Reuven may not take an oath required of partners that he suffered a loss. Such a loss to require Shimon to pay 50 dirham from his own funds. Instead, Reuven should take the oath required of partners if there was a loss. He should take the money that is in his possession, but Shimon is not required to pay anything. If Reuven claims that Shimon has a definite knowledge of the loss, he may require Shimon to take the oath required of partners based on the convention of gilgul shvua, he may compel him to include that he does not have a definite knowledge of this loss. Different was applied if Shimon was not at all involved in the work of the partnership. Shimon should take a schwatz that he does not have definite knowledge of the loss. He is then freed of liability. Moreover, if the money that remains in Shimon's possession, it should be if the money that remains was in Shimon's possession, it should be divided equally between the rationales that a partner is not one of those who is required to take an oath and then collect money from his defendant. Instead, the oath he takes enables him merely to be freed of responsibility or to assume ownership of the property in his possession. Be careful with this law, for even masters of instruction have erred with regard to it. 6. The following law also involves the division of the assets of a partnership. Shimon claims that he owes Levi a money because of the partnership. If he has resources in a partnership in his possession that are sufficient to pay the debt, he can give them to Levi. His word is accepted. He should repay the debt, and afterwards he and Reuven should calculate how the assets should be divided. If Shimon does not have funds from the partnership in his possession, we do not rely upon his word to expropriate money from Reuven or the merchandise known to belong to the partnership, lest Shimon and Levi are perpetrating deception, seeking to obtain Reuven's property. Even if the loan is recorded in a promissory note, Reuven is not required to pay any portion of it. If Shimon claims that Reuven has definite knowledge that the debt Shimon incurred came as a result of the partnership and should be borne by both of them, Reuven is required to take schwatz. He does not know that the partnership has incurred this debt, or because of the convention of gilgul shvua, he should include this statement in the oath as the oath he takes is required of the partners. Afterwards, Shimon should pay the debt from his own funds. Similarly, if there was a promissory note stating that due to Shimon, Levi owes the partnership 100 dirham, Shimon claims I received payment to return the money to the coppers to the partnership, or I extended him credit for a 2 or 3 year period. His word is not accepted unless he be perpetrating deception, seeking to obtain Reuven's property. How should this case be adjudicated? Levi was already free from obligation to Shimon's admission. If Shimon does not bring proof to his claim, Shimon must pay Reuven's share from his own funds. He should then demand payment from Levi at the end of the time span he mentioned. Similar principles apply in all analogous situations. Blessed be God who grants assistance. B'chachmana d'Sion.